You're listening to Three Kitchens, a member of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. Join your hosts, Heather Dyer, Sarah Somasundaram, and Aaron Walker, for good food and some fun in the kitchen.
We acknowledge that Three Kitchens is recorded on traditional Treaty 7 territory.
And acknowledge the Métis people who also share a deep connection with this land.
This episode of Three Kitchens is brought to you by the Alberta Association of Optometrists, proudly celebrating a century of caring for Albertans. It happens. Parents can easily miss their child's eye problems. Issues can occur in only one eye, making them difficult to notice. The earlier an eye health or vision problem is identified, the more likely it can be corrected.
The I See, I Learn program provides an eye exam and free glasses if needed for kindergarten-aged children. 25% of kids begin first grade with an undiagnosed eye problem. To book your child's eye exam, please visit optometrist.ab.ca.
The Alberta Association of Optometrists represents almost 800 doctors of optometry in over 80 communities across the province. Members are highly trained, regulated health professionals who provide primary eye health and vision care to Albertans. Learn more at optometrists.ab.ca.
Yay!
Hello!
Hello there. Welcome to season 2.
Season 2. We all had jazz hands just because everyone didn't get to enjoy that like we did. We all went,
Imagine.
Mm-hmm. Three Kitchens are still here.
We're still here.
There's no end to what we can talk about.
Yeah.
With food this season.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some great recipes coming up that you can bring into your home. And we're doing some new things too.
Yeah, lots of new things actually. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm excited about this season because the first episode, this episode, was very encouraging.
We're having some success. We're eating some good food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we're going to be talking about some figures in cooking as well, not just food.
Yeah.
And we're starting our season 2 with a fall feast.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like a really good one.
And an interesting one, something we've never done before.
We'd been talking for a while about doing an episode with Indigenous cooking.
Yes, because we've done so much from so many different cultures around the world.
Mm-hmm.
We thought it's time to look right here at home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. And it feels fitting when we're talking about fall and fall feast and Thanksgiving season coming up and the harvest and all of that, because kind of the thinking behind Indigenous cooking is from the land, using what you've got, what's close by, what you can gather. And so we've tried to do that with this meal.
Mm-hmm.
It turned out amazing. So there you go.
We got to do some new foods, use some new ingredients that we've never cooked with before or eaten. And
so here we go.
Heather, you found a great book in the library.
Yeah.
Real treasure, actually.
Yeah, I actually went on a Calgary, I can't remember the exact name of it now. It's like Calgary Home Cooking Facebook group that I follow.
Mm-hmm.
And I posted on there and I said, this is what we're thinking of doing. Does anybody have any good cookbooks or websites to refer us to for local Indigenous cooking?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And somebody responded and said, have you checked out Shane Chartrand's book, Tawâw?
Mm-hmm.
I hope I'm saying that right. And so I went to the library and picked it up, and here we go.
Okay, so, when we started this idea, I was a little, I don't know about you guys, but I was a little worried about what exactly we were going to be cooking, because it's not like I don't like game meat or anything like that, but that's usually cooked for me. I've never done that at home myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then you brought this book to the playground.
To a meeting. Let's call it a meeting.
It was a meeting. I think it took Sarah all of like 10 seconds to say, I'm making this.
Yeah. And, it was just the time when the air was starting to get that chill, right? That fall chill. And I looked through the book and I'm like, oh my God, this is like such a great cookbook.
And I knew you were going to pick that because as soon as I saw it, when I first got the book, I was like, oh, Sarah's totally going to want to make this one.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad too. Let's hear about it.
Tell us, Sarah.
Okay, first. Let's talk about the drink first. I'm making two things. I'm making a drink to greet the guests with, which is you guys. And it's called an iced Labrador tea. And it's Labrador tea leaves that grow in bogs and wetland areas. Supposed to be really good for your health. I have no idea what this is going to taste like. I don't even know what it's going to really look like. I ordered it on Etsy from Eastern Canada. It's probably going to show up in the next couple of days, and then I'll know what the tea leaves look like. What you do is you steep this tea in boiling water for 5 minutes and not longer than that. And there's a reason for that.
Oh.
And then you make this really delicious syrup with honey and water and lemon and mint and rosemary and a cinnamon stick. You add the syrup into this tea. And you serve it cold, it looks like. I think you can have it warm, but you serve it cold. And the reason why you don't want to steep it for more than 5 minutes is that even though it's extremely good for you, and in this book it says it's very high in vitamin C and it's good for colds, perfect season, right?
Yeah.
If it's steeped for too long or you have too much, it can be toxic. Ta-da!
So what kind of toxic?
Yeah, like it can't be worse than a whole lot of other stuff that we ingest or
That's right. So
yeah.
you know what? Like, I mean, we're not going to have a lot of it. I just ordered a little bit, a few tea leaves. So yeah, I'm really excited about this particular tea because if you looked through the book, for sure, I would never call this book fusion, but he definitely brings in ingredients from outside of Canada to help his recipes out. It's definitely Indigenous cuisine. However, with this iced Labrador tea, what I was really taken with was that the Labrador tea leaves are native to Canada. I think it's more Eastern Canada. This is what was grown here, and this was what was ingested. So that's really exciting. I don't know anything about this. So I thought that was very Canadian. My exciting recipe that I'm going to do is called bone marrow with smoked cheese, rye toast, and a tomato cucumber tartare.
Oh, it sounds so good. Just the name alone and the photo there's some beautiful photos in this book too. And we should probably mention he has a co-author.
Jennifer Cockrall-King.
That's right. Yeah. And together, the two of them have come up with some amazing
Great job, guys.
food and photos and stories and
a recipe book that is quite amazing. So bone marrow. So have you guys had bone marrow before?
I have once, but it has been such a long time. I really couldn't tell you anything about it.
I had it once as well with you, Sarah. We were out somewhere.
Chinese restaurant, actually. Yeah.
Following the matinee at the theater. I think we went there. So I'd had it just once, but it was really delicious. So I'm curious about this recipe.
So it reminds me a lot like a butter spread or a nice fatty spread that you put on. I like to put it on rice personally, but this is the first time I'm going to put it on toast. When you go to the butcher, and thanks Master Meats for coming through for us again. You just go and you tell your butcher that you want bone marrow cut in a boat cut. So it's cut horizontally.
Like lengthwise, right?
Lengthwise, yeah. Put it in the freezer and you use it whenever you want. I think it keeps for a long time in the freezer. And so you just take it out of the freezer. In this case, he talks about putting some smoked Swiss cheese on top, some salt to taste, and then you put it in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, but not for too long, guys. Like you don't want to do this for too long or that bone marrow will actually liquefy. And you don't want that to happen. So you want it to cook right to the point where it is set, but cooked. If that makes any sense.
Is there do you use a thermometer? Is there a temperature you're going for or?
No, so he's saying it's about 10 to 15 minutes, but what you want to do is you will start seeing the marrow bubbling slightly close to the bone. And it'll be kind of pink in the middle, and that's where you stop it. So that's a good indication.
So interesting.
Yeah.
I would never, this is not the kind of thing I would ever think that you would make at home. I don't know why. I guess because you have to go to the butcher and get it specially. You have to request it specially. It's not sitting in the grocery store. It's not something we typically make. So this is really cool.
And the Master Meats butcher was extremely excited when I bought the bone marrow. He's like, wait, because he usually sells it to restaurants. So he's like, what are you doing? And this is how you do it. And he gave some tips. It's like, $4.25, really quick, just from the freezer to the oven, you're good to go kind of deal. And I'm like, okay.
That's awesome.
I love that the butcher has like cooking recommendations as well. He's not just cutting the meat. He knows how to prepare it. I like that.
I love Master Meats. It's great.
When we got the skirt steak from them, I went and picked it up and he was asking what we were doing and little cooking tips. Yeah, they're great there.
Yeah, totally. And then you serve this with rye bread, which is buttered, which I found really funny because I'm like, okay, so he wants us to put butter on it and then bone marrow on it. So it's like fat. And I'm like,
You're speaking Sarah's language.
Yes, I was like so happy. I'm like, anything with butter and fat. And then I love this tartare. It's like tomato, cucumber, red onion, green onion, garlic. So you can see how some of these ingredients are coming in from outside of Canada, right? And so he's putting it all together. Parsley, olive oil, red wine vinegar, and salt. And so it's like a little salad or relish, I guess.
Sounds kind of like a bruschetta.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And so something really acidic to put on with the fat. Doesn't that sound it pairs perfectly, right?
Yeah, just to cut through the fat and really like pop that flavor.
Yeah. So that's what I'm making. I'm so excited.
No kidding. I'm so excited I get to eat this.
Me too. And I should have some red tomatoes for you for your... I bet I'll have some. What else was in there? Cucumbers and onion
and garlic and parsley.
See, we got garlic from the garden. We could do tomatoes. Okay. I don't have cucumbers for you, but we can get them from a local place. We're going to try to do as much local as we can here.
Nice.
I might have a cucumber. We'll see what's still hanging on. My cucumbers were kind of a fail this year because it was too hot for them in the greenhouse. And so
interesting.
We've had a few and there's one more growing right now. So let me see where it's at. Let me see if it's big enough.
Fun.
I just have to shop at your gardens instead of going anywhere.
There you go.
Yeah. And so I ended up getting 5 bone marrows cut lengthwise. So I have 10. I'm not going to serve 10 because that's too fatty, but I'm really excited to start this because I think once I do this and if this is successful, I think I'll continue to make bone marrow once in a while.
Yeah.
Something fancy. Like a Christmas dinner or something like that, right? Yeah, so we'll take pictures and show you what it looks like. Because, I mean, the picture in this book, oh my God.
I can't wait. These flavors,
so good.
Making me crazy.
What is going to go with the bone marrow and Labrador tea?
So when I got a chance, when the cookbook was passed down to me, I loved the way that it was put together. I wanted to say, I love that it's organized by season.
Yes.
And so I flipped right to the fall right away because we're doing fall cooking. And I was really excited. It took me about 5 minutes again to choose the recipe because as soon as I saw it, I knew I had to make it. It is a honey brined roast pheasant with acorn squash and fresh sage.
Oh my God, that's
yum.
Again, like you just read it and you're like,
yeah.
Yes. I've never even eaten pheasant and I'm like,
I know, I'm so excited about
it
pheasant.
Sounds so good.
I'm really excited about a different type of poultry. I think that's going to be really interesting to cook with. This is what I wanted to make this. And I thought, well, I wonder if I can find pheasant in Calgary. And I wasn't really sure what was going to happen. So I thought, well, worst case scenario, I'll make it with chicken. But after a little bit of Heather's Googling, she found a business in Calgary called Rocky Mountain Game Meats. They provide a wide variety of local fresh and frozen game meats to restaurants in Calgary. And they also have a walk-in option to buy. I was really glad that I was able to take advantage of that. I contacted them. They have these pheasants frozen and ready to go. They're always fresh because they provide them to restaurants frequently.
Nice.
And they've been really friendly and easy to work with. And they were also very excited about, why are you cooking a pheasant? And is this a special?
Like if it's a restaurant, I get it, but it's at home.
Yeah. Oh, is this a special occasion or something? And
yes, it is. We do special occasions every week.
Exactly.
Kitchens podcast.
Did our little self-promotion plug there. And and then they brought me out this cute little bird.
No.
I think it's 900 grams. It's just this little guy. Anyway, they said it might have the head on. It is headless. It looks just like a chicken.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
But I was a little bit disappointed. I was like, oh, if the head was on, that would be kind of fun to
That would have been fun. I would have
do something for the presentation with that. It would have been interesting. Anyway, so this little pheasant is going to get brined in water, salt, honey, garlic, peppercorn, lemon brine.
Oh my God.
Everything sounds good.
Oh my God.
Yes. It sounds amazing.
I'm so hungry right now. And then we are going to stuff it with sprigs of fresh thyme, rosemary, and sage, and salt and pepper on the skin. And then we're going to roast it. So I'm a little unsure about how this roasting is going to go because it's so tiny.
Right.
I only recently started cooking birds. Like most of my life, my husband always cooked the turkey. Like the first year we cooked a turkey was after we had kids, and he bought this, oh my God, guys, absolutely massive Mr. Bean sized turkey.
Mr. Bean sized.
Oh my God.
Gets his head stuck in it.
I'm telling you, it didn't even fit in the roasting pan we had.
Oh,
So I
no.
had to send my mom home to go get me a roasting pan because the
That's
roasting
so
pan we bought did that. He took the turkey out of the freezer and put it in the fridge, and I was like,
Yeah.
what the hell is that thing? Anyway, it took us so much longer to cook than he thought it would.
Right.
We didn't eat until
Dinner was late.
Oh my God. It was, and it was this gigantic bird. Like we just couldn't stop laughing at the size. Like it wasn't even on the chart of my cooking chart. It was so big.
I think we've all had those turkey dinner stories the first few times. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
When you think it's going to be a couple hours and it ends up being an all day roast.
Yeah. Mistakes to learn from, right? Yeah.
Okay, so how long does a pheasant take? What does it say about the pheasant?
Okay, so you're going to heat up the oven to 4, then you're going to reduce it to 350. And it says it roasts for 30 to 40 minutes, and that both should be done at the same time.
Okay.
You should leave the pheasant to rest for 10 minutes and then carve it. And you can serve it on a bed of fresh kale. And I just happen to have some fresh kale in my garden.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know if I'll be able to recreate the beautiful picture he has in the book, but we'll try that. And as for the squash, it is really just salt, pepper, rubbed sage, and oil.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
You brought up sage.
Yeah.
Is sage more of an herb that is used in the east part of Canada than in around Alberta? Because I find that everyone in the east talks about sage, but I don't see a lot of sage recipes here in Alberta. Am I wrong?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
Did you grow up with sage in your like turkeys and stuff like
Yeah.
that? You did.
It's a
Okay.
poultry seasoning for sure.
Okay.
In my
Like I don't hear about the usage of sage as much here than I hear like from Eastern Canada, like every sage in everything, basically. Like those big sort of holiday meals. That's what is one of the main ingredients, right?
interesting.
There's always been sage in the stuffing that my family has made at any Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, but I can't think of it anywhere else.
And my mother-in-law ate so much sage growing up, she doesn't like sage anymore.
Oh, that's too bad. My husband's grandfather told a story to us about hunting sage grouse and eating it. And he will never eat anything with sage in it again because that damn grouse was like just the smell of cooking it.
Does it eat sage? Is that why it's called a sage grouse?
It eats sage.
Oh, I see.
So it was like infused, over-saged bird. And he was like, oh no.
Look at that. It comes seasoned.
Isn't that why people don't eat koala, other than the fact that they're so cute? But isn't that the reason they don't eat koala is because they eat a lot of eucalyptus, and so apparently they taste disgusting.
Like the spa? They do taste like a steam shower?
They taste like a bubble bath.
But 10 times stronger.
Oh, that's funny. That's a nice natural deterrent.
Natural deterrent.
Nobody's going to eat me because I taste like a...
And their cute face, of course.
And aren't they like high all the time? Yeah, I think so.
Why they look so sleepy?
That's why they sit in trees and do nothing. It's because they're like, oh man.
Because of the eucalyptus? Does eucalyptus make you high?
I don't know.
I thought it was intoxicating.
Well, let's see how we feel after the Labrador tea. You might be laughing a little.
As long as I'm not laughing all the way to the bathroom.
That's true.
What does toxic mean exactly? Is it maybe it's good toxic? Maybe it just means...
What if it's like a cleanse toxic?
Oh dear.
Drink a little bit of it and see how it is.
Exactly. I am also super lucky that I found some sage plants this year to put in my garden. And so I will have some fresh sage. And I have to say, I've been drying some throughout the summer and cooking with it fresh. And wow, nothing compares to the like real deal. Like the bottled stuff, just the fresh stuff is amazing. I find
that with bay leaves too, like the fresher they are, they're so different in taste.
So different.
The dried stuff, yeah.
So Heather, this comes to you now.
To me.
The complete circle.
The circle. So
the trifecta.
Well, we've been talking about protein, and when I knew that Sarah was going to do the marrow, and then when Erin was like, "Ooh, pheasant," then I thought, okay, now we need like a side and some kind of vegetable, and of course
those things called vegetables.
Yeah, those things. You know, we should probably have one of those vegetable things. And also the thing that I think comes to mind, if not first, then one of the first things you think of when you think of Indigenous food is bannock.
Yes.
And I don't know if I've ever known quite this much about bannock until doing a bit of reading about it. So, I mean, we know it was not originated here. It's a unleavened bread that came from Europe with fur traders and explorers and settlers. And they shared that with the native people here. And it became kind of a thing where I believe across the country, across North America, different groups will have different ways of making it, different words for it. What Shane Chartrand has put in his book is called a galette, which is the Métis version of bannock. And I've never seen it made this way. When I was a kid, my mom used to make the bannock dough. We'd put it on the end of a stick and cook it over the fire when we were camping. And then you'd kind of take it off, put jam on it. It was like a biscuit. Nice. So good. And I've had it made in a frying pan over the fire or on the stove, but I've never made it like this. So I thought this would be a great thing to try. Okay. So the way he describes it is a dense crumb. And this recipe is his dad's recipe. The name of the recipe is galette with roasted garlic 2 ways. So if we needed an excuse to eat more garlic, here it comes, because who doesn't love roasted garlic? Okay, so for the galette, you've got flour, baking powder, salt, milk, and canola oil, and fleur de sel for finishing.
Is there a reason why it has to be canola oil? Is that just because it's very abundant in Alberta? I'm going to guess
because it is, but I don't actually know. Might be it's a very neutral flavor, could be. I would imagine any sort of neutral oil would be fine. You want the oven at 300. Line a baking sheet with parchment. In the stand mixer with a dough hook attachment, you're going to do your flour, baking powder, salt, and oil. Then add the milk and mix until just a shaggy dough has formed. Put it on your work surface, knead it a few times to bring it together, and it should still be shaggy. I love the way cookbooks are written with these descriptions where I'm like, I don't really know. Remember the sand ribbons with the macarons? And now we're talking like shaggy dough. Like,
Communicating something physical, though, can be so hard to do until you've experienced it, right?
Yes.
Communicating anything like that uses a different sense, right? Like taste, feel, smell, and touch. And then and
you're trying to kind of use one word to describe this dough. It's like, well, shaggy sounds good, I guess. Okay, then we're gonna shape this shaggy dough into a log. I added that to the
Sorry.
description. It just says shape the dough into a log. Place on the prepared baking sheet, flatten the top, use your fingers to press little divots into the dough, which reminds me of focaccia. Yeah, exactly.
That picture looks like a focaccia, actually.
It does have a very, similar
Mm-hmm.
look to it.
And then you're going to do egg and milk for an egg wash over the dough. Bake it for about 40 minutes until the top begins to turn golden brown. Take it out, let it cool for 10 minutes, and there you go. And then you're going to, serve it with this lovely roasted garlic 2 ways. We're going to roast garlic the way you think, you typically roast garlic, where you kind of slice the top off, put oil on it, wrap it in foil, roast it in the oven until it's very soft. So then you can just sort of scoop it.
Oh, it becomes like butter that way. Oh, I love it like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second way that he does it is we've got cloves, oil, salt, and pepper. You're going to, again, put it in foil, seal the packet, roast it in the preheated oven for 30 minutes. So it doesn't roast as long.
Okay.
And then you're going to puree it in like a blender or with an immersion blender or something. So it's going to be an actual spread.
With salt?
Yep. Salt and pepper. That is our galette with roasted garlic 2 ways. Can't go wrong. I'm thinking this just all sounds yum.
Yeah, no kidding.
The other side dish I'm going to make is called a warm pumpkin salad with toasted pumpkin seeds and seared cucumber. Any reactions?
Okay. That sounds delicious.
Oh, I really like that.
Has anyone else ever seared a cucumber? Because I've not.
No. Okay, didn't we come across something about cooking cucumber recently?
I think we were talking about cooking lettuce.
Oh, yeah.
Both of us have charred lettuce on the
lettuce,
barbecue, and it's not something you would typically think to do on the barbecue. But then once you do, you're like, wow, I'm never going back. So I'm really interested to see how this goes with the cucumber. Ooh.
Me too. And I mean, what speaks to fall more than a pumpkin, right?
Oh, there's nothing better.
Nothing better. It's like the symbol of fall is the big old pumpkin. Yeah. So I actually got a pumpkin from my sister, who got it from her in-laws farm east of Red Deer. So I have this beautiful pumpkin straight from the Thompson's farm.
Okay.
Farm to family, to table, to friends. That's how it's going to go. Okay. So what we're going to do with the pumpkin is place it whole on a baking sheet and cook until it's soft and slightly caramelized. It's about an hour to cook a pumpkin whole.
Oh, how big is this pumpkin?
So the recipe calls for a medium pumpkin, about 8 pounds. And I believe mine is 7 pounds. So
that's a good size.
It's not huge. It's not jack-o'-lantern pumpkin. It's pie pumpkin.
Yeah, because they have thicker walls, right? So that you get more flesh.
It's heavy.
Less hollow.
Yeah, that 7 pounds is like, it's a dense pumpkin. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to roast it. When it's cool enough to handle, peel away the rind from the flesh, discard the strings, but reserve the seeds, and then cut it into cubes.
Oh, okay.
It says with toasted pumpkin seeds. So I'm going to toast pumpkin seeds.
Do you season the pumpkin seeds?
It's just toasted on a skillet until they pop slightly. They're fully toasted. And then you're going to whisk together oil, garlic, shallot, honey, lemon juice, salt, and pepper. This is sounding a lot like the
brine.
Yeah, that's what it's.
This is going to pair perfectly with that pheasant. As you said those things, I'm just like,
I know. Okay, and then so you toss that. That's your dressing. You toss your pumpkins in, and then you put your toasted pumpkin seeds on top, some chopped parsley, and warm cucumber slices.
Are we using the salted lemons in this?
When you mentioned your lemon and salt, I was like, well, of course you're going to use salted lemons.
Okay. I mean, it seems obvious to me, but if you haven't listened to anything in season 1 before, you might not be aware of the obsession that we've created.
I'm actually out of salted lemons. It's like, I don't know what to do. I have an emptiness in my life and fridge.
Oh, no. Okay, so the last thing in this recipe is to put the seared cucumber on there, and you're just cooking the cucumber until golden brown around the edges and in the middle, about 5 minutes per side, a sliced English cucumber. So yeah, there you go.
Sounds like how you cook a zucchini.
Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of saute it a little bit.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
I think that's going to really, I'm excited about seeing what that flavor is going to be like.
Yeah. And I'm just glad there's like garlic.
Well, I think this is going to be an amazing meal.
I am really excited about this meal, and I really didn't expect to be this excited about this meal. I think that his cookbook is something that people should look up and borrow or buy. I think you wouldn't be disappointed. It is surprisingly simple.
Is that surprising? Like, I would have thought when we talked about Indigenous cooking, I expected simple. In fact, I expected almost so simple that where is the flavor coming from?
Right.
Aside from like the protein or something.
Right.
Because I think like you're talking about garlic, yay, garlic. Well, that wasn't traditionally here, I don't think, right?
Yeah. But I think what I mean by simple was that I didn't know how these recipes that seemed very foreign to what I usually cook in the house was going to translate in my kitchen.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And they really do translate.
Mm-hmm.
And just the use of other ingredients, but being able to keep that Indigenous identity, I think is very smart how he did it.
And I would say like part of the reason why we weren't exactly sure what to expect is because we don't have a lot of exposure to it.
We don't. Yeah.
No, it's going to be really cool to get a chance to experience some of these flavors. And I just love the simplicity of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really nice.
I feel like we're going into this kind of understanding what we're going to be eating or tasting. I am really curious about the pheasant because I've never had pheasant, but I've had Cornish hen, I've had quail. So I'm thinking it'll be something similar to that. So yeah, this is very exciting. I'm really looking forward to this.
I'm really looking forward to kicking off fall. September is always a lot of family time for us. We have family and friends who have birthdays in the fall. Sarah shares a birthday with my husband.
Mm-hmm. You know, we're born on the best day ever.
For us, we always have my husband's birthday's at Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And so Thanksgiving is also a birthday thing for us. He says it's the best time to have a birthday because you get a big dinner, and he loves like turkey dinner and all the trimmings and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Pie is like secondary because we usually have cake. We usually have birthday cake. Yeah. So all of that is like, it's a lot of celebration around this time. That's fun.
Yeah. I like having that family time and that togetherness. And there's always such good memories at this time of year. Mm-hmm. And pairing those great memories with food and with the change in season, like it all just feels so nice and warm and fuzzy. And
no, there is something comforting about fall for sure. The food, absolutely.
Sweater weather, baby.
The sweater weather. Erin's favorite. You know, if the next season wasn't winter, I would love fall so much more.
Yes, I agree.
Have we decided if we are making a dessert or buying one?
I think we should have dessert. I have like a pumpkin full of Saskatoon berries that we picked.
Did you say you have a pumpkin full of Saskatoon berries?
Yes, I think I did.
You did.
Okay, scratch.
Okay.
I have a freezer full of Saskatoon berries. In fact, I've also got haskabs and gooseberries. I got like all the berries.
She's got all the berries.
I got all the berries. A pie or like a rustic like tart or something simple. Maybe we could do.
Let's kick off fall.
I think this is a great way of doing it. Yeah.
And season 2.
Woo! And we're still all friends and co-workers.
We still talk to each other. That's hilarious.
What did you think was going to happen? Now I'm like, wait a second.
This episode of Three Kitchens is brought to you by Yeg Podfest, presented by Edmonton Community Foundation, in partnership with the Alberta Podcast Network and LitFest, Canada's nonfiction festival.
Running October 1st through 3rd, Yeg Podfest will be held all online this year, so anyone can tune in to experience it. Events include masterclasses with professional podcasters, panel discussions, feature interviews, and more.
Some of APN's member shows will be there too, so join us for the virtual party from October 1st through 3rd. To check out the full lineup and get tickets, head to yegpodfest.ca. That's YEGpodfest.ca.
Here we are. We're back. After our fall feast.
It was a feast.
What a feast.
Oh, what a feast. What a
What
feast.
a feast. Okay, I was sick in bed. And so I called it my gourmet hospital food because my husband brought it in on our little like table tray, and it was all these little tinfoiled packages. But this time it was like the best food you have ever eaten.
In a hospital. You better clarify.
Oh.
It may not be the best food you've ever eaten in your whole
No,
life.
It was the best food I have
It was
ever
good
eaten.
food.
It was
I didn't say it wasn't
incredibly
good.
good.
It was
I don't know
up
if I'd say
there.
it was the best of my life, but it was definitely really good.
It was
up
definitely
there
the
for
best
sure.
pheasant I've ever eaten in my life. I can say
Me
that.
too.
I can say that for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, we could start right with the pheasant.
So I have to give all the pheasant credit to Heather. I sent my little bird off to her.
The little bird, and I wanted some moral support with the bird, so I took it over to Sarah's house while our kids were running circles and they went out to the park. We had a glass. Actually, we had 2 drinks going at once. We had a vodka, and then we poured a glass of wine, and then we cooked the pheasant.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the wine that we had?
Oh, right. Yeah, we had a bottle of Merlot from the Incameep cellars in the Okanagan, which is North America's first Indigenous owned and operated winery.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very tasty.
Yeah, very tasty.
I really enjoyed it.
And that was recommended in the Tawâw book, right?
He didn't recommend the Merlot. He used another vintage, like another grape for a dessert, a wine poached pear or something.
Oh,
Right.
that's right.
But he had recommended the winery, and it was a good call. It was very tasty. So this pheasant was brined. That was so tasty. And when I made the brine, like you cook it on the stove, you boil it, and then you let it cool, and then you put the bird in it,
Yes.
and then you put it in the fridge. And while that brine was bubbling away on my stove, my house smelled amazing. And my husband came in and said, what are we eating? What is that? I'm like, well, sorry, it's not for you, but it's like, oh, the best. Like I would absolutely use that brine. Next time I make the chicken, Sarah said she was going to use it at Thanksgiving. Like it is tasty.
My husband also, he snuck little bits of everything that came over, and he was like, what is in this chicken? And I was like, no, that's the little pheasant. And he was like, oh, it's amazing. Yeah, he couldn't get over the flavor. He's like, you got to do that on a chicken sometime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was really tasty. And Sarah did the carving of the bird. And what did you say about it?
Well, so then I carved up portions for you guys, and you dropped it off at Erin's. And so then my husband and I like sort of picked away at the carcass, and all of a sudden this liver pops out, and I'm like, ah! So yes, when you get a game bird, always look inside the cavity to make sure that the organs have been removed.
And I neglected to do that. It was so tiny. Like you I don't even think I could have put my hand inside to like get
It was
in there.
such a tiny little bird.
It was a tiny little liver, but it scared the crap out of me. It popped. I'm like, what is that? And there was a neck in there too.
Yeah.
But strangely enough, not any other organ. So I have no idea what that was all about. Anyway, it's a good lesson. Just check.
Yes.
Check the cavity.
Remember to check. And you also, when you were carving it, said that it was tough, like not tough meat, but tougher to pull apart than a chicken.
Tougher than a chicken for sure, but not tough. You're right.
Yeah,
Like it was easy to eat, but still definitely chewier than a chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It definitely had a different texture to it.
And it wasn't that gamey, right? I mean, I wonder if that's the brine.
Yeah,
that-
could be.
I don't know.
Otherwise, it tasted like, I thought it tasted
Maybe
like
it tastes like chicken, yeah. But the texture is not.
And can I say that I loved all of the squashes?
Mm-hmm. It was good.
Heather, your pumpkin salad
That was really good. My husband
was
loved that too.
so good.
It's the dressing. It was so good.
The dressing was just fantastic on that. And I loved those cucumbers.
Yeah, who knew? Sauteing cucumbers. It
Delicious.
turned it into what I thought it seemed like a tender zucchini.
Yeah.
Like it seemed more like a zucchini after it was sauteed like that. Like,
Right.
It was so much sweeter than a zucchini, if you ask me.
Oh, sweeter than a zucchini, yes. Yeah. But I
Yeah.
thought it turned it savory almost, like a more savory taste to the cucumber.
I don't know. It was good though.
It was good.
Really wondered about those when I put them in the pan. I was like, here we go. Oh no.
They were really good when I re-sauteed that to heat it up the next day too.
Me too. I warmed it up in a pan too, and I put a poached egg on top, and that was my breakfast. It was tasty. I've never eaten pumpkin like that. I think I've only ever had it like pureed in soup or baking or a pie. Like I've never roasted a pumpkin and eaten it like that.
No.
Yeah. It was so, and it looked really nice.
Yeah. And it was good cold too. You could eat it warm or cold. It was super tasty.
I would have toasted the pumpkin seeds for longer.
Yeah, they were.
That would be my only criticism of it, is I felt like the pumpkin seeds seemed kind of raw-ish still.
Yeah, and I think it's because in the recipe you're just toasting them on a dry pan on the stove.
Yeah.
Whereas if we done them like we usually do for snacking after Halloween, where you put them in the oven and leave them a long time at a low temperature and put salt on them and do that. Yeah. I think that would have been better, that little crunch.
Yeah.
The crunch.
I would have toasted the pumpkin seeds and in a different fashion, but still tasty.
And the bone marrow.
Oh, God. That was just
Can we have a moment of silence for the bone marrow?
We're having a memory of the bone marrow. That was so delicious.
When I bought the bone marrow, I told you I bought 5 bone marrows and I got it split lengthwise, right? And so we made one for each of us. And I don't think it's enough. Anyway, they're more soaking in my fridge right now.
Nice.
I'm having bone marrow tomorrow. I don't care. It's so good.
I think you did a great job cooking it too. Like you described all these different stages or whatever could go wrong. And like, as soon as I dug my knife and then my spoon in,
it was like butter.
It was perfect.
Like, I had to share mine with my kids because they were like, what's that? I want to try it. And they loved it. And then they wanted to eat the whole thing. I think another part of it was the cheese though. That smoky cheese on there.
Yeah.
Was like,
and was great on bread.
Yes.
Buttered bread. Butter.
Yeah.
Butter on top of that. Oh my God. It was such a winner. It's like fat and fat and fat.
And that was a delicious bread that you got too. Did you get that?
So I got the bread from Edelweiss.
Okay. Nice.
And it was a light rye. The bread was really good. I called Springbank Cheese, which is across the street from my house. I've lived in this house for how many years? And I've never walked into that store. They're extremely nice, but I called them in advance to find out if they had a smoked Swiss. They didn't, but they recommended a smoked provolone cheese. And so that's what I ended up getting. And the one other thing that I did that was a little different from what the recipe called for is that when I had read about cooking bone marrow, a lot of people said to soak it in salt and water for 12 to 24 hours to get rid of the impurities and the blood. And so I did that. And you have to sort of change the water out every 4 hours. And then you dry out the bone marrow. And it cooked up for 15 minutes exactly. It was perfect, right? And a way to know it is that when we looked into the oven, you could see sort of the grease kind of starting to fall onto the bottom of the tray. So we took it out and we used a toothpick to kind of see if it would detach from the bone. And it just sort of detached really easy. And that's like your indicator that it's done. It's good to go.
Very cool.
Who would ever think cooking bone marrow at home? Like it just seems like one of those fancy things you eat at a restaurant. But now any of us can go make it. Just go to the butcher, ask for the bone marrow, get it cut lengthwise
and they're called boat cuts. Yeah, and they're cheap. So
cool.
And then the tea.
Oh, the tea.
The toxic tea.
I was so nervous. You got me so worked up about that. The first time you said, oh, apparently it's toxic, I was like, meh, who cares? But by the time I had it in my hand, I was like nervous to drink it.
It's toxic if you drink a lot of it, and it's toxic if you steep it for too long. So what you do is you bring the leaves to a boil, and then you turn it down to a simmer for 5 minutes. And trust me, I had the timer on because apparently you don't want to simmer it for too long or it's toxic. I'm like, oh, I don't want to poison my friends. Who will I host this show with?
You'd be on your own.
3 Kitchens has turned to 1.
one kitchen and
The other two are out.
two friends who drank too much toxic tea.
The tea in itself, yeah, it was good. And I'm glad we tried it. But it was the syrup that was, wow, amazing.
What was in that syrup?
So it was half water, half honey with mint, rosemary, and a cinnamon stick.
Ooh, that syrup needs to be made again.
Yeah, I don't know what it was with that drink, but
Yeah.
it was the most tasty thing I have
Yeah.
had. And I didn't drink all of it because I was so nervous, but I had maybe half of it.
I'm in the same boat. It's okay, Heather.
And
I
then
was also.
You were nervous.
Yeah.
Then I closed it. And then later I put it in the fridge because I'm like, maybe I'll drink it. I don't know. And I took it out and I just smelled it. Like I just, it was like I was inhaling it. It smells amazing. It's like, oh, so good. I didn't know it was the syrup that was like that yummy.
That
thing.
was the syrup. I think that was the yum part. So you know what? Just make tea and make that syrup.
I think because it was a cold tea,
Mm-hmm.
like you could drink it cold and it was extremely delicious.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you wanted to make your own homemade iced tea in the summer,
Yes. Yeah.
this would just blow it out of the park. Like this
Totally.
would be the best tasty beverage to have with any tea that you like
any tea. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I'm totally making
So it
that.
was a quarter cup of the syrup to about 1.5 cups of tea. So just so you know, whatever tea you want to make, do that. And then you don't have to worry about the toxicity or whatever. You can just go crazy with the tea.
Yeah.
It was delicious. Yeah.
The thing we haven't gotten to yet is your shaggy bread.
Shaggy bread.
Galette. Yes. Not my favorite. What did you guys think of this bread?
It was okay. Like
I'm willing to say I didn't really like it all that much.
I thought it was too salty.
yes. I thought something was too salty about it.
Way too salty. Even my family tried it and my kids were like, whoa, there's too much salt in this. And they put the piece back.
Yeah, so did mine. And I love salty. Like it's one of my favorite. I love salty stuff. I usually oversalt things in other people's opinion, but I like it salty.
Right.
But even I thought this was too salty.
So was it the bread that was salty or that garlic
It was the
puree?
bread.
It was definitely the bread.
Yeah. It has 2 tablespoons of salt in the dough.
And how much flour?
Oh, 6 cups.
Mm.
No. I mean, you guys had a third of it each, and that is a giant piece of bread. So I didn't think that 2 tablespoons sounded crazy.
Yeah,
but it was too salty.
Oh, it does sound like a lot of salt.
Because for 4 cups, I put 1 tablespoon. Oh, 1 teaspoon. Sorry.
Yeah.
I put 1 teaspoon. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say that's
so it is
super duper salty because I make a 4-cup pizza dough. And I'm pretty sure I put in just a teaspoon.
My son loved it.
Oh,
like he would not.
Yay,
Can I have another piece? Can I have another piece? Can I have another piece? I'm like, really? Okay. And he loved that garlic puree. He loved it. So let's talk about that puree because that was good. And I'm going to make that again.
So the puree is just super simple. A cup of garlic cloves peeled, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and salt and pepper to taste. I didn't put very much I think I put more pepper, not very much salt, because I was already thinking we got salt going on here. So because you've peeled them, you're not roasting the garlic as a whole, like the other method of roasting garlic. So you've peeled them, tossed them in the oil and the salt and pepper. You put it in foil and let's see, at 325 for about 30 minutes.
Okay.
And then you want to blend them up, whichever way you do, immersion blender, or I had a Ninja smoothie thing and I just put them in there. And it was so tasty, spread on the bread.
Yeah.
I ended up putting it with my rye bread because I wasn't crazy about the
That's what
bannock,
I did. Put the marrow and the puree and the butter and then the marrow came with a little sort of a what would you call that, like a salsa kind of,
like a fresh
that's right.
cucumber, tomato, some
onion.
herbs, and it almost cut that fat. It was so good.
All of it together was
all those flavors were really great in there. And then you made that wonderful Saskatoon crumble.
You did.
Made you a little sweet for the end.
I had no room for that at the end. I think I took 1 bite of it and was like, oh, this is delicious.
I didn't either.
Put it back in the fridge, and then I had it the next day for lunch.
Nice.
That was delicious.
Nice.
I didn't even really get any because I didn't want it then. And then by the time I decided yesterday I might have some, it was all gone. My family had eaten all of it.
Yeah, my kids ate all of ours. I had one bite, unfortunately. So all in all, my conclusion, this cookbook, it's easier than you would think. Like the recipes are pretty simple. They're easy to make at home and they're frickin' tasty.
Yeah.
Really accessible. So delicious.
Yes. And if you want to kind of follow in the spirit of Indigenous food and cooking, try to get as much as you can locally. We have a whole list. We can put it on social media. We can link to everybody that we can on there. We use 2 different honeys from local producers. We had meat, we had cheese, we had wine, we had like everything
bread,
local as much as we could. So
Yep.
We'll put those links and people can go and help support those businesses if you wish.
So
And
even the toxic tea, the Labrador tea. I should stop calling it the toxic tea. The Labrador tea. There's like it's high in vitamin C, guys. Like, you know, nothing happened to us.
We're
We
fine.
experimented on ourselves.
We still look fine.
Yeah. Aaron's got a little tick going.
we haven't grown a third eyeball yet or anything.
No.
We're so far so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So make your fall feast.
Yeah, and get the cookbook.
Get the
It's
cookbook.
really
Yeah.
worth it. Yeah.
It's called Tawâw. So good.
And we only sampled a few small recipes.
Yeah.
There was so much more in there that looked like
That we wanted to do.
I
Yeah,
have
totally.
to eat this. It's
Oh, and we should mention that in a couple days' time, following this episode on September 30th.
Yep.
I got that date right.
Yeah.
You did.
We will have a special bonus episode.
That's right.
So tune in for that.
And it's really exciting because we are recording from a different venue.
We've been invited to be part of the first podcast booth at the Calgary International Film Festival.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
And the
exciting.
stars aligned, and there's actually a film that is
do.
about cooking.
Yes.
Yay! So we're going to talk about it. We're really excited about it.
if you want to hear us talk about home cooking with about another chef and the movie
Not
about
with her.
them. No,
Yeah.
sadly, no.
No.
You bring in your Ouija board.
Yeah. Hey, now there's an idea.
No.
All right, so tune in on the 30th for a special bonus
All right.
and enjoy some fall and family and food.
Yes.
Totally.
All the F's.
Yes.
And now for the fine print. You can find recipe information and photos on Instagram and Facebook at 3 Kitchens Podcast. Why don't you leave us a comment? Give us ideas for future episodes. We'd love to hear from you. And of course, if you like and subscribe and follow, all of those things help other people find us.
What are you guys talking about? The bannock was delicious.